That Washington football team is really fucking good.
Everything we do is going to be about winning. Okay, we're going to learn to do things the right way, and that's the only way we're going to do them. Because if it doesn't help us, we're not doing it, man. That's just as simple as it gets. Win the Super Bowl. That's I mean it, too. You know, one of the things that the only reason you become a head coach in this league, in my opinion, is to win. That's it. That's the bottom line. If you do it for any other reason, you're wrong.
Hey, Washington football fans, welcome back. Sorry, it's been a while. I'm working on a pretty complex video about what we could do in free agency and philosophy-wise to turn this team around. And I've been digging through the free agents, going over grades, scheme fits, and, you know, watching some tape to try to get that video out as soon as I can. But I just had another trade idea that I wanted to just get out there in the ether, so maybe somebody will hear it somewhere. And it's a massive one that would fill a massive need. Before I get into that, though, if you guys could go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe down below, that would be awesome. I would greatly appreciate it. My dream for this channel is to get big enough that one day somebody in the organization hears, you know, one of my crazy suggestions. And that would really go a long way to helping that happen, I think. So, just like always, this trade might sound insane to fans on both sides, but I think it could really make a lot of sense. Our season is pretty much donezo. I mentioned in the last video, I think we should be cashing out on some of these high-quality offensive linemen we have. You know, only for the ones that are only on contract for the rest of the season, to try to land a piece or pieces that could help us for the future. Now, the best way to do a mid-season trade is to look for a team with solid Super Bowl aspirations, and then find a notable chink in that team's armor, and offer a solution to them for a higher price than it's worth. That's just the best way to do it. The more important the position and the worse the need and the size of the upgrade that, you know, you'd be sending all factor in, especially when it's a 1-year rental type situation like I'm thinking about here. You know, our ammo, you know, we have would be on 1-year deals, but we don't have anything dumb like player holdouts to weaken us in the trade either. So, you know, it doesn't hurt anything to ask. I mean, we don't need it, but we can offer it and try to get something huge in return. After all, you know, they're the ones that care about this season and not us at this point. So, you know, we need to have some big cojones here and make some calls and try something like this. You know, any team with a bad enough need and realistic hope will do crazy stuff when they think they're close to the Lombardi. You know, the Patriots with Bill Belichick have been shrewd negotiators in the past. He got a second rounder for Jimmy Garoppolo on the last year of his deal. That Jimmy Garoppolo was completely unproven at the time. He had just come in and played a few games. and looked decent, and they're like, here, take a second rounder for him. Because the 49ers thought he was the piece that would give them a Super Bowl win. He got a first rounder from Deion Branch. You know, Seahawks thought that he'd be the missing piece after they lost the Super Bowl. He managed to get, this isn't so much a Super Bowl related, but he managed to get a third rounder for a 32-year-old Randy Moss that had kind of clearly hit a wall at that point. He sent a fourth rounder for Aqib Talib, who was coming off a suspension for a failed drug test. He only got a third rounder for Jamie Collins, coming off a all-pro season on a 1-year rental type thing to the Browns. It kind of shows the value of a linebacker. And he only gave a 6 to Detroit for, you know, Kyle Van Noy, second round pick in his third year. He's also been on the other end of the stick, searching for that piece to get him to the Super Bowl when he sent a second round pick to the Falcons for Mohamed Sanu. The Rams, when they thought they were one piece away, they sent 2 first rounders and a 5th for Jalen Ramsey. And that caused them to send Marcus Peters away for Kenny Young and a 5th. And when that wasn't enough, they traded the next 2 first rounders they got and a third rounder this season for Matt Stafford. The Seahawks spent a second and third on Dwayne Brown to give Russ a shot, hoping to get back to the promised land. The Rex Ryan era was the good times for the Jets. You know, taking over and going 9-7 and all the way to the AFC Championships. They thought they were close, and they traded a third round pick, a wide receiver, and a linebacker to get Braylon Edwards, the piece they thought they need to get to the big show. Well, they went 11-5 and lost the AFC Championship again, but that's the closest the Jets have been to the Lombardi since the New York Sack Exchange in '82. The Cowboys sent a first, third, and 7th to Detroit for Roy Williams. So, you know, they thought they could team him with T.O. and Romo and make a run to the Super Bowl. Minnesota got half a draft from the Bills for Stephon Diggs, you know, because they thought that was what they needed to unlock Josh Allen's potential and possibly get to the Super Bowl, and that might work out for him this year. And you've heard about me moan, this isn't Super Bowl related, but you've heard me moan about it, well, maybe it is, in multiple videos, but the Panthers nabbed the 9th overall pick from 2020, the guy that went 7 picks after Chase, cornerback C.J. Henderson, for a 5th rounder and a 4th year undrafted mediocre tight end and a 3rd round pick. That kind of shows the price of defense to offense there too. Billy Price, who's been close, if not a bust level player, was traded for a very solid defensive tackle, B.J. Hill, and a 7th round pick. Former 2nd round pick linebacker Denzel Perryman was worth a pick swap of a 6th and a 7th. Decent coverage linebacker Joe Schobert, only worth a 6th round pick. And this year, after suffering a crushing defeat in the Super Bowl because of a horrible O-line, the Chiefs spent a 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 5th on Orlando Brown and a 2nd and 6th. You know, to play at a position he wasn't really proven at on a 1-year rental because they couldn't find any other option. If it had worked, they'd make that trade every time. I think the Chiefs' Super Bowl loss could serve as a warning for the team I'm suggesting a trade with and help put things into perspective with, proven production, the proven production from our players in positions they need. I bring up all those lopsided trades to try to illustrate 3 points. First off, like I alluded to before, teams that think they have a realistic shot at a Super Bowl will pay high for any piece that could strengthen a weakness. Second, offensive players hold their value very, very well in these situations. Third, and sort of a minor observation that I kind of talked about in my last video about a possible trade with the Bears, that could prove to help us out a good bit, is the fact that linebackers don't hold their value very well in comparison. They're kind of undervalued in general. So I've given away the position target. Big surprise. Everyone knows we need linebackers. And this is probably my 3rd video about linebacker options. Might be 5th, I don't know. So, on to possible trade partners. I just realized after actually watching this team play the last 2 weeks that they have a problem. A team that looks like the strongest contender to possibly knock off last year's Super Bowl winner and make it to and possibly win the Super Bowl, having only been to a Super Bowl once in franchise history and never feeling the confetti, the 7-0, soon, probably easily moving to 8-0 because Davante Adams tested positive. I'm talking about the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals look like an offensive juggernaut from a production standpoint. But if you watch the games, Kyler is getting mollywopped and diddy-bopped all in the backfield. He's getting sacked 2.5 times a game. Tied for 18th in the league with the Houston Texans. Our offense is only giving up 1.5 sacks a game. And that's with, some injuries, things kind of rotate. And with Taylor Heineke and a lack of weapons, our players are still only giving up that. Reading the worries going into the season, a lot of talk went in about the improvement of their offensive line, but there was also a lot of talk, a lot of concerns about their right guard position, which seemed like the only weak link. Josh Jones is getting thumped out there. And now Rodney Hudson is on the IR for at least 3 weeks when the schedule is actually getting a little tougher in the defenses they face. It could be rough in a way that could get Kyler injured. And that would put a screeching halt on what's shaping up to be a possible Super Bowl run. So I think the Cardinals are in dire need for interior offensive line help. Luckily, we got a little depth there. We're trying to get rid of some guys. And the Cardinals have shown, so far this season and, leading up to this season, that they're loading up for the big push. They're in win now mode. Before the season, the Cardinals gave up a 3rd rounder for a 32-year-old Rodney Hudson to play center. And a week or 2 ago, when Max Williams went down, they traded, their 6th round draft pick from this year Tay Gowan that had second round type talent but slid because of his opt out, and a 5th rounder for Zach Ertz that has shown a dramatic decline for the last 3 years. That really, really shows me that they're in win now mode. So we got to try to cash in on that. So what I'm suggesting is I try to trade Brandon Scherff on his 1-year rental, coming off an all-pro season in which, he graded the best he's ever graded with an elite 84 overall grade and a balanced 80.1 run blocking grade and an 81.1 pass blocking grade. Now, he's set to return this week or next week from a mild sprain, MCL sprain. But it'll be just in time for the 49ers divisional game. Along with Scherff, I'd send a 3rd round pick for what I'm going to be asking for. Scherff is an elite player at the position that would help secure that right side of the line and make up for weaknesses on either side of him until Hudson comes back. And once Hudson gets back, they start to have a pretty formidable offensive line to make that push to the Super Bowl. I think he'd be the perfect piece to elevate, an already deadly offense, and be a Super Bowl caliber team. And it'd help out the run game even more, and it would keep Kyler safe. I'd also be willing to part ways with Wes Schweitzer, who is playing at a Pro Bowl level so far this year, and last year too, honestly. And he's under contract for next season as well on a very cheap deal. So I think he actually might have a little bit more value than Scherff. So if we traded him, I would only send a 4th rounder with him. So that'd be a pretty good get there for him, all-pro player and your one glaring weakness on offense, that's, probably a big help finally getting a Super Bowl banner to hang in State Farm Stadium. And, our draft pick they'd be getting back in return is probably going to be one of the first 5 picks in the 3rd round. So what do we want? This is going to be tough, guys. We want this year's 1st round rookie linebacker, Zavin Collins. I know that's a hard pill to swallow, just getting a guy with so much potential and then trading him away, but you just did it with Tay Gowan. And I know there's a big difference in a 1st rounder and a 6th rounder, but cornerback is a lot more, valuable position than linebacker. And Zaven's already hit, a bit of trouble with the reckless driving charge in Arizona. He's only been used on 37% of the defensive snaps. So he's not going to be a big blow, to what you got going on right now on defense. And the early 3rd rounder gives you a chance, in a deep linebacker draft to get a high upside guy. There's plenty of high-end guys that should get pushed down the board. You got plenty of options to replace him through the draft and, build towards the future. But bringing Scherff in or Schweitzer helps, makes it almost for sure. It betters your chances of winning the Super Bowl dramatically. And if they're completely unwilling to trade Collins, I'd ask for Isaiah Simmons. 1st round pick from the year before. And I'd also probably bump it down to about a 4th rounder instead of a 3rd rounder. Because Simmons hasn't looked super impressive so far. He's grading in the 50s, and he graded in the 50s last year and the 60s so far. So in his first 2 seasons, not looking great. So I think, he holds less value than the unknown potential of Zaven. But I really think he's a guy that we would put in a much better situation and get better use of. And just to get crazy, Scherff plus Schweitzer, then a second and a fourth for the both of them, Isaiah Simmons and Zavin Collins. With the way Tanner Vallejo plays, showing his potential in very limited reps, and Jordan Hicks actually outperforming Simmons anyway when he's seeing the field, and the fact that Hicks is seeing the field a lot more than Collins, you won't see any considerable drop-off defensively this season from it. As one of the best defenses currently in the league, a slight drop-off doesn't hurt much. But a huge bump, an immediate offensive line, upgrade could make all the difference when it comes confetti time. Do you guys want to be the ones underneath of it, having it rain down on you? Or you want to be crying on your way to the locker room? I bumped the pickup to a second and a fourth for the chance of getting them both to solve our linebacker problem. So a second, a fourth, Brandon Scherff and Wes Schweitzer. You have an upgrade at both guard positions if you want it. If not, at least you have an upgrade and depth for, Chiefs type worst case scenario. The craziest trade here probably does the most to help both teams achieve their goals. Arizona gets all I just said, the depth, the huge upgrade, not ending up like the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. And Washington, we get 2 high-quality pieces to help secure, our defensive identity. I know all these trades might sound crazy to Arizona fans because everybody loves their guys, their first-round guys especially. And you want to think about the future of your team, so giving up young players might sound dumb, but getting an all-pro right guard and another guard playing at a near Pro Bowl level goes way further towards a Super Bowl win this season, than they do. Getting a Super Bowl win on your quarterback's rookie contract is one of the most important things you can do in the NFL these days. And the linebacker position is way down the spectrum of importance. You also get that early second round pick to catch whatever top linebacker slides out of the first round. The linebackers this year are probably going to go towards the end of the first anyway, so you're going to be able to snatch up a really good one coming out. And, that Super Bowl has got to be worth it to you guys. The first Super Bowl in your franchise history. Our season is done in Washington, but this would be a real chance to build for the future. Zavin Collins and Isaiah Simmons are 2 high potential linebackers that maybe they could be better utilized by narrowing the scope of their responsibilities a bit here. Arizona drafted them as like all over chess pieces, that really help out in their amoeba defense. But outside of that, they aren't really, difference makers when it comes to, base defense and stuff like that. Any of these, like I said, I think would be great trades. It might leave Arizona with a bit more work to do next year finding linebacker replacements. But they would have security at the guard position, still having Schweitzer on contract after the trade next year. And I'm sure a Super Bowl win would soften Scherff to the idea of a very team-friendly price on a re-sign, making that offense even stronger out the gate next year as well. Not to mention just possibly going into next season as a Super Bowl champion, period, makes it all worth it. Once again, I think this is a call that Martin Mayhew or somebody should be making right now before the trade deadline. Like, please, make this happen. You gotta squeeze them when they can be squeezed. And a team with Super Bowl hopes like this and a clear weakness, a weakness you can point to the last Super Bowl and be like, you don't want that to happen to you, do you? That's something you got to jump on and take advantage of. It's a business. We want to be in the winning business. This is the best long-term strategy for that. Maybe they get a little mad at you, but it helps us in the long run. It helps them right now. So somebody needs to make that call. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this trade good for both sides in your opinion? A Super Bowl for, two linebackers, two young talented linebackers. Would you let a first rounder go, for a short-term need if you were knocking on the door of a Super Bowl? Would you want Zaven? Would you want Isaiah? Are you in favor of both like I am? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And please hit that like button, share, subscribe, comment, do all that awesome stuff. And if you watched the video, I love y'all. Peace.